or in pieces of legislation.
Hi, Mr. President. Thank you for having us. We understand that you've curbed public spending and increased taxes to pay off existing debt. I'm wondering if you could speak to how you made that decision, what trade-offs you've had to consider, and how you think that decision impacts everyday Kenyans today.
I think you have been talking to the opposition. Because they are the ones who are driving this narrative that I have increased all the taxes. Now, the whole principle is that you must live within your means. This has been my message to the people of Kenya. For maybe 12 years, we've been running 8-9% fiscal deficit, which means you're spending money that you're not collecting. And you keep, digging a bigger hole to fill the other one all the time. And now we have a debt that is heading towards unsustainable. So when I came into office, I told everybody, tighten up your belts. I am not going to preside over a bankrupt country. I am not going to preside over a country that is in debt distress. We have to cut our spending, and there is no free lunch. And we have to think of what we need to do two fundamental things. Reduce. We cannot spend what we don't have. And number two, if we look at our peers, and Kenyans have been socialized to believe that they pay the highest taxes. But empirical data shows Kenya, as of last year, our tax as a percentage of our revenues was 14%. Our peers in the continent is on average between 22 and 25%, which means we are way below, our taxes are way below those of our peers, And I'm not comparing ourselves with OECD countries. Countries like France are at 45%. Others are higher. So I persuaded and I made a case to the people of Kenya that we must begin to enhance our revenue. Because if we are a serious state, we must be able to enhance our taxes. So my drive is to push Kenya. Possibly this year we will be at 16% from 14%. I want in my term, God willing, to leave it at between 20 and 22%. It's going to be difficult. I have a lot of explaining to do. People will complain, but I know finally they will appreciate that the money we go to borrow from the World Bank is savings of other countries. We have to begin to live within our means. And then secondly, is to reduce largesse. There are people travel first class, when it is completely unnecessary. People do, things that, and so when I called, by the way, I sat here with heads of ministries, departments, agencies, and I told them, look, from our data, we can do with 30% less of our recurrent expenditure. And you know what? Everybody has gone and cut their recurrent expenditure by 30%, and nobody's complaining. What does that tell you? That there was wastage. I mean, there was a place you could cut and still be able to manage to do things. So we are straightening up things. I am very proud of what we have managed to achieve. The one thing we have done is that we have pulled the country from the brink of debt distress. Our dollar, our exchange rate has stabilized. It had gone all the way to 167. It's come down to 130. Fuel had gone up, it's come down. Even today, fuel has been announced again to come down. Our exchange rates, our interest rates are coming down. We're stabilizing the economy because of the measures that I have taken. I took the decision, for example, that we cannot continue to subsidize consumption. When I came into office, we were subsidizing fuel. We were subsidizing very rudimentary things, and we were spending $15 billion. That is close to $150 million every month. And we were going to sink the country. So I stopped. I mean, there was a complaint for a few weeks, and then people started to understand we need to make some hard decisions if we have to get the country moving in the right direction. I can tell you, a year ago, if there was an election, I would have been thrown out. But today, the situation has changed. And going into the future, those who are making noise at me, they will be the ones clapping. That's what it is.
I can see the President of Nigeria is following your script. All the tough decisions, the removals of subsidies early on, so the matters are repaired before the next election. Mr. President, we've taken up a lot of your time, so we'll just round up with the last questions, Mr. President. Nepal, Australia, and Latin America, very briefly indeed. Nepal, Latin America, and Australia.
Sure. Thank you so much for taking the time, Mr. President. I was just talking to your digital advisor about the new digital taxation you've introduced, and we talked to a lot of locals about the increasing interest in social media, and that as a source of income. So I'd love to hear how you think about that in terms of your policies.
Sorry,
Oh, sorry, yeah.
I didn't get you.
Sure. Let me repeat. I was just talking to your digital advisor about the new digital tax that's been introduced, as well as a lot of local Kenyans about how there's an increasing interest in using social media as a source of income. So we'd be curious as to how you think about that in terms of your government policies.
Okay. The whole digital tax regime and that kind of thing. We have been working with Google, Twitter, Meta, that whole space, because Kenyans are a very tech-savvy society.